I'm gonna keep this rolling. Obviously, hey y'all. In this video, I'm gonna talk about how to become who you actually are versus who society expects you to be or who your family expects you to be. So this video helps you just refocus and help you really zone in on who you are as a person based on your own morals and values. So my name is Alicia. I am a Marine Corps veteran. I am a college graduate. I've moved cross country 2 times. I've gotten divorced. I've just had a whole bunch of big life changes, and I feel like I've always had to come back and refocus and center in on myself and figure out who I am time and again. So I'm going to tell you 3 things that I do over and over again every time I either decide to reinvent myself or, like I said, just kind of rezone in on who I am as a person, who that ideal version of myself is, so that you can hopefully do the same. So first thing is going to be to really sit down and think about what your values are, your morals, your ethics, things that you stand for as a person, right? I feel like you can't really start changing any actions unless you have that foundation set in stone. So I'm gonna show you here on my computer something that I've done time and again, where I'll just make 3 columns. So I'll have an always column, a sometimes column, and a never column, right? And this is gonna be things that, again, my values, things that I'll always stand for. I'm saying sometimes going to be things that maybe I can compromise a little bit on, and then never is going to be things that I just never do. And again, I'm thinking of my highest version of myself. I'm thinking of who is Ideal Alicia? What are the things that Ideal Alicia stands for? What do they stand for? What are things that they're not going to allow in their life? What are things that are mandatory in their lives? So I did a small example of that chart here of what I'm talking about. Let me see if I can pull it up on my screen. Perfect. Oh, excuse the eye itch. So in the first column, you're going to write down things that you or that ideal version of yourself is going to either always do, or what are those strong foundational values that you have. So here's an example for me. One of them is honesty, so telling the truth. The next one's going to be courage. Next one's going to be always communicating, so on. And then you're going to go to the complete opposite end of that piece of paper, and you're going to put the complete opposite of what that is, because you're pretty much, what's the opposite of honesty? Lying. So that means that's something that you don't align with or you never want to do. Just take everything that you think is going to be the most ideal version of you and write that down, and then write down the complete opposite. And boom, you've already started trying to figure out who you are and where you want to go. In the middle, I feel like it's an optional column, but it does help you just think through maybe scenarios that you might come up with, or scenarios that you might have had in the past where there was some sort of compromising on that foundational value. So for me, one of the compromises that I'll have with honesty is I might tell you I got you a present for your birthday, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to hold a little secret, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe I'm friends with 2 other people that are also mutual friends. One of the friends tells me something in confidence. I'm not going to yap and tell the other friend about it either. You know what I'm saying? So just think about maybe what you might want to compromise on this value for, but you do not have to. I feel like the middle column is very, optional for sure. So just keep doing this for different values that you have. They can be abstract like this: honesty, courage, being active, being ambitious, or they can be like, I will never smoke. Like that's something that you value. That's one of your morals. That's one of your ethics. You do not align with that. And then obviously the opposite would be like smoking every day or things like that. So take some time to really sit, think about this. Give yourself at least an hour, really sit and think about different values that you want to hold true for yourself. So the next thing you're going to want to do after you get your values, ethics, morals, whatever you want to call that list, ideal version of yourself list down pat with your always and your nevers. Maybe you have a sometimes column. Next thing you're going to do, step number 2, and that's going to be thinking of actions that align with those values, right? So take you back to my little fancy note here. Boom. So for here, action number 2, I picked these 2 because I feel like they were the easiest maybe for me to think of actions that align with them. And that's going to be being active. Ideal version of Alicia is active. That's it. I don't want to be lazy. I feel like I don't identify with laziness or just staying still, honestly. So actions that align with that value of being active, for me, running, going to the gym, golfing, hiking, maybe. I hiked a couple times. It wasn't too bad, but it's something to do. You know what I'm saying? Being active. But finding different things that align with those things. So if active is on your list, I would implore you, is crazy. I don't talk like that. I would push you, suggest, no, advise, that's cute. Yeah, let's start that whole sentence over. So if the ideal version of yourself is active, how I am, you don't have to pick just the things that you see everybody else doing. There's so many different ways to be active that maybe I don't align with, but you might. You know what I'm saying? So if you like to be outside in nature, try hiking, try a sport that's outside, try even just, what's it called? Looking on GroupMe, try looking on YouTube, you Google ChatGPT. What are some actions that I could be doing that are gonna keep me active? And literally just try them. And it doesn't have to be something expensive. It doesn't have to be something to where you feel like you're overreaching. It's very simple for you to really take that initiative to begin acting on the things that you say are your values. Because if you're not acting on your values, then are they really your values? The other example I have for myself is ambition. So I am a business owner, so I have a massage business. I got a degree, so going to school, making sure I got my degree, that was, I think, an ambitious thing. Just making sure that you start acting upon these things that you say are your values. Because like I said, if you don't act on them, are they really something that you embody? So the third and last thing that you're gonna wanna do now after you've written down all your morals, values, ethics, everything that makes you who you are and who you wanna be, and you've come up with some ideas of some actions that you can take to help reflect those things. Now, we're gonna be running this back and forth. I would suggest doing some sort of check-in with yourself. Every couple months, do I still like running? Do I still like telling the truth, or whatever it is that you wrote down on your values, on your ethics and things like that? Really do a check-in with yourself. See if you still align to these things, and don't be afraid to pivot. I don't advise against pivoting off of honesty, but I do advise to switch up your workout routine every once in a while. Switch up what it is that you are working towards now that you've maybe learned some new information after working towards that certain thing. So make sure you start doing some check-ins. I do check-ins about quarterly. I'll rewrite my affirmations. I'll rewrite my goals. I have yearly goals, but I think those actionable items, they might change. Maybe I'll achieve the goal in a way that I didn't initially think of. Allow yourself to have some wiggle room to change how it is that you embody your values and ethics. Maybe if there's something that you want to add to the list, feel free to add it. And maybe if there's some stuff you want to take off, then take them off. What I do is just make sure that we're scheduling some check-ins, so that way you give yourself some time to learn from the things that you wrote down and from the actions that you were taking that help embody these values and ethics. Feel free to run this as many times as you need. Pretty sure I've done this, I would say at least 4 or 5 times. And I honestly will probably do it again after making this video. Hopefully this helps you. And if you want to reach out to me on any of my socials, they're here down below. See you in the next one.